When I was 5 years old, my parents took me to the animal shelter. I remember the cold concrete floors and the smell of disinfectant that stung my nose. But I didn't care about any of that. All I cared about was finding a friend. The moment I saw Max, I knew he was the one. He was a small, scruffy-looking puppy with big brown eyes that seemed to plead with me to take him home. His fur was a mix of golden browns, and he had a little white patch on his chest that made him look like he was wearing a tuxedo. I reached out my hand, and he immediately licked my fingers, wagging his tail so hard his whole body wiggled. I giggled, feeling a warmth spread through me that I hadn't felt before. It was like finding a missing piece of myself. My parents smiled at each other and nodded, and just like that, Max became part of our family. Max and I grew up together. He was there when I started kindergarten, waiting by the window for me to come home every day. On weekends, we would run around the backyard, his tail wagging like a little propeller as he chased after me. I taught him how to fetch, though he never quite understood why he had to bring the ball back. He preferred to keep it, running away with it as if it were the greatest treasure in the world. Years went by, and Max and I faced everything together. He was there when I struggled with my schoolwork, lying by my feet as I pored over my books late into the night. He was there when I had my first heartbreak, his warm brown eyes full of understanding as if he could feel my pain. He was my constant companion, my confidant, and my best friend. But as Max grew older, I noticed changes in him. He was no longer the energetic puppy who would run around the yard. His steps were slower, his naps longer, and he began to struggle with getting up the stairs. I tried to ignore it, telling myself he was just tired or having an off day. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. The vet confirmed my worst fears. Max had a severe heart condition that couldn't be cured. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. I tried to hold back my tears as the vet explained our options, but my heart was breaking. I didn't want to lose my best friend. Over the next few weeks, Max's condition worsened. He struggled to breathe and couldn't eat much. His once bright eyes grew dull, and he looked at me with a pain that cut me to my core. I knew I had to make the hardest decision of my life. I didn't want him to suffer any longer. On his last day, I held Max close, whispering to him how thankful I was for all the years we had shared. His tail gave a faint wag, and he licked my hand weakly, as if to say he understood. I stayed with him until the end, holding him as he took his last breath. Afterward, the house felt emptier than it ever had. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of Max, his favorite toy by the couch, his bowl in the kitchen, his leash hanging by the door. The silence was deafening. I kept expecting to hear his paws on the floor or feel his warm body next to mine at night. The absence was a constant ache in my chest. Grieving Max was like losing a piece of myself. I would cry myself to sleep, hugging his favorite blanket to my chest, breathing in the scent of him that still lingered. The days stretched on, each one harder than the last. But slowly, I began to find comfort in the memories we had made together. I would close my eyes and remember the way he would chase me around the yard or how he would snuggle next to me on a cold night. It wasn't easy, but I learned to accept that Max was gone, though he would always be a part of me. I still miss him every day, but I carry his memory in my heart, where he remains my loyal friend, my protector, my Max.